Hi everyone. As we celebrate International Coaching Week, Maverick wanted to bring in a person who was very, very valuable to discuss the dynamics of mentoring and coaching. When we look at the business world, we can't think of anyone better, a better Maverick than the person we have today. Someone who's been loved by people, someone who creates that atmosphere and environment where coaching and nurturing is a part of life and part of work. This particular individual is someone that we've known and worked with for a very, very long time. Ladies and gentlemen, the cornerman, your friend and mine, Dian Gomes. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ninoshan. Thank you for your kind words.
And it's been lovely to have you. The accolades many know of, whether it is the Honorary Consul General of Georgia, whether it is your time at MAS, whether it is your time at many of the organizations. But we're curious to know about you, the inner person, the child, your formidable years as a person. Talk to us about your younger self.
I studied at Royal College right throughout my up to A levels from kindergarten, grade 1. My father was a banker. My mother was a simple housewife. I was only child, so I was very well taken care of, loved. But my father, when I was 12 years, he passed away. And so my mother became a single parent. So it was a little tough because their backgrounds were very different. My father was a royalist himself with different interests, very serious, banker, was very interested in rugby and cricket. He always wanted me to play cricket, maybe for all college. I played up to about under 14 cricket at Royal. But more than that, it was a happy childhood. We used to live down Gomes Path of Difansaka Road, and I used to walk to school. Great set of friends, which we still, keep in touch. 50 odd years of friendships beyond that, still at Royal. So I would say that was the formative years. But my formative years gave me the kind of character and the personality what eventually, when he became a man, stood strong. The first thing was, I believed, at Royal College, there was no cultural gap. We had Tamil friends, we had poor friends, we had rich parents, kids, Muslims, burghers, all in one place. And once you wore the royal jersey, we were all one together. When we boxed together, when we did athletics, it was the honor of your school. Very strong values. I was always very radical. I always had long hair, and I was caned few times because of long hair by the late Deputy Principal, Mr. E.C. Gunasekara, known as Kataya. And even in 1976, when I was a senior boxing player, I was thrown out of the boxing photograph by late Mr. Pires, who was the principal, said the traditions of Royal College does not allow anybody to sit for photographs with mustaches, because I was having a mustache. And because I was always ill-disciplined, I used to cut during my A-level times. 3 times a week, I was out of school. I had a lot of other interests, girlfriends, more than studies. But I still won the form prize in the A-level class, and then embarked on my accounting career at KPMG. But I realized my ill-disciplined approach during school days, they have a certain cost, especially in sports. I was Royals flyweight champion for 4 years. I was Sri Lanka junior flyweight champion. But the ill discipline didn't take me much, far, because I was cutting, like I would say, the training programs, I was cutting classes, I was running riot. But I was enjoying life. I was always, I would say, very different in my thinking. But Royal gave me that grounding which I could handle people at any level. Because I can remember one of my batchmates who comes from a very poor background got into the boxing ring. It was an inter-house meet. And I can still remember, vividly remember, he was with the torn banyan. There were holes in his banyan. Uh, and some people didn't want to go to the corner because, I mean, we were young, we didn't understand, but maybe they wouldn't have been comfortable. But I was always comfortable. Subsequently, in my latter years, when I became Sri Lanka's cornerman in boxing, so I didn't have any inhibitions going to the corner with anyone. Taking the gum shield, washing the spade, wiping the blood, and encouraging me to fight. Whether they were fighting for Royal, whether they were fighting for Sri Lanka schools, and whether they were fighting for Sri Lanka as well. I was always there, thousand odd fights. So when you look at the childhood foundation, gave me that kind of stability and the interaction level with people. Say, for example, subsequently, if you look at all my classmates, Iran Vikramaratne went to Oxford, was the NDB CEO, and became a politician. Ajit Gunawardena became the deputy chairman of John Cales. You know, Tyagaraja became the chairman of HNB.
Yeah.
And we are the poorest of poor, middle class, and rich guys' kids. But when we came together, you know, that foundation was far more stronger than anything else. And that foundation later on, which I didn't realize at that time, when I ran a 100,000 people organization, helped me quite a lot. I had breakfast with Prince Charles when he opened the factory, and I could have the breakfast with the toilet cleaner in the same breath. That foundation came from Royal College and my early childhood. The second thing was the resilience, because my mother couldn't really advise. I had to make a lot of calls by myself. She gave me love. We were financially strong. I mean, she could give me the creature comforts. But in terms of strategy advice, I don't think she was capable of doing that. So I had to make the calls myself, what I should do in life. My love affairs, my education to become an accountant, all that I had to do it all by myself. But of course, when I left college and wanted to do an accounting career, I met a great mentor. He was a Thomian. We were right opposite. I went to Royal College, he went to St. Thomas's. I was Sinhalese, he was Tamil. And I was a Buddhist and he was Anglican.
Right.
He was a great boss, Mr. Ranjan, late Mr. Ranjan Sivaratnam. He was like a second father to me. He passed away about 2 years back. And he mentored me in these turbulent times, especially my career. And I was skipping exams and used to always put that pressure on me to pass the exams. So I think the initial stages in my life, uh, loss of my father, Royal College, and then subsequently finding a good mentor, I think helped me to develop to my full potential, which I myself didn't know how my career would progress. At 22, I was a young financial controller in a multinational company called Saracen Interiors. We built all these hotels, Taj, Intercon, Galadari. I was very young. By 25, I was the finance director. And I think by 25, I had got my FCMA as well. And I moved on to an American multinational in my mid 20s as the youngest general manager worldwide for a Fortune 100. 2 years there, short stint in New York. I thought, I wasn't very happy about it because I had a very demanding boss who was very control uh, centered, which for a man who's radical and, you know, a guy who thinks his heroes are Che Guevara and Muhammad Ali, that culture and that thinking didn't fit in this multinational. But then I came across Mahesh Amalia, who was 2 years senior to me in school. His brother was my batchmate, Ajay, and they were looking for a young general manager to head their new joint venture with the Victoria's Secrets, Mast Industries. So Mahesh came and asked me whether I would find a good chap for this role, and I volunteered. You know, at that time I was getting about $2,000 at Maycorp. I opted for virtually a 50,000 rupees salary. But I said, look, I'll prove it to you. I never worked for family companies. I worked for multinationals because I don't believe in working for family companies. But within 1 year, if I'm good, I need to be the group finance director. And, uh, and if I don't see me going anywhere, I will go somewhere else. I was marketable. So he kept to his promise. Within 6 months, I was the finance director for MAS and started at Shadowline. Then I was promoted within the first year itself as the chief executive to manage a three-way joint venture. It was a nightmare. I was a good finance director, but I was not a good chief executive. I lacked experience. I was 30 years, you know, I did 29 years. And when I went to Pannala, 10 British expats, the all young management team, young graduates, a three-way joint venture with Victoria's Secrets, Sara Lee Courtaulds, and MAS Holdings. And he said, look, you had worked for the Brits, you had worked for the Americans, you know us very well from Royal, right? You are the best man to manage this complicated joint venture. It was like married to three women all in one house. Every decision I made would piss off two other partners. But at that time, I was a good finance guy. I was driving the numbers to make it work, make it profitable, get my KPIs all right. But it was not working. The company was not gelling, people are not gelling, leftist background area, issues. Um, then came a much matured English project manager. And he said, Dian, fix the people equation right, the numbers will automatically fall. I worked on the people and within a year turned the company around. When I joined the company, it was $6 million, MAS Holdings. When I retired, it was $2.5 billion, much rather than any other Sri Lankan company, especially all these public companies, and making $200 odd million profit, one of the most profitable entities and a stable company led by a great chairman, Mahesh Amalia, great visionary. I sat next to him for nearly 27 years as his right hand man. Not a cat would like to even sit in that seat, always next to him. We were like black and white, always opposing views. That's why I call him a great champ. Always opposed him in everything. When it came to people, he never kind of, for my 27 years, overruled a single decision of mine on people. But on marketing, on product, he was a maestro. You know, he would take my pants off in that kind of area. Soft spoken, completely opposite man to him. But I worked very well with the family, all three of them. Ajay, of course, school friend. I was more Sharon's man, you know, who was a real businessman and great execution of things. So it was a good in my formative years.
Wonderful. Very colorful.
Very colorful.
Happy.
Uh, always, I was very unorthodox. My strategies unorthodox. It worked. First thing I did was to change the culture by saying, call me Dian. And anybody, I see, those days they used to call in the apparel industry Mr. Dian.
Mr. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I said, no, Mr. Either you can call me Mr. Gomes, right? but everyone else, Dian.
I remember
Workers used
this.
to call me sir, but everybody else from the reception down, Dian. I enforced it, and sometimes the shareholders didn't like it initially, but eventually they loved it because I came from the multinational background. It was all first name terms. Challenge the process, recruit people who are better than you. I mean, those were the foundations of MAS only.
Absolutely. I remember 18 years ago walking through Slimline, having a chat to you, if you remember, where you had the cafeteria and you had a boxing ring slide right smack in the middle.
Yes.
And you told me about the time spent with people. And given the fact that that's an area that we want to talk about, how important, and you spoke about how your mentors meant so much to you. In today's cultures, you have so many types of people, Gen Zs and different generations. And how important is it to mentor and find the time to give that feedback and help people grow?
I think you will be shocked. Running a billion-dollar company, I spend 60% of my time on people. 60% on my time. When I walk to a plant, I would walk at least when I was at Slimline 3 times a day, talking to people. And I knew most of them, even today, by their name, their backgrounds, what their husbands did. I had amazing memory, but I could remember my wife's telephone number or my car number. And people think you come from finance background and you can't kind of remember those. I said I can't remember, but their school to university to everything, I knew everything. I think it's so important, picking the right talent, beginning. You pick the right talent and pick people who are, who will fit into the culture and who's passionate about the culture. And also, I used to always pick people who are better than me, because I could do 100 other things. The only thing that I didn't delegate for my 27 years is my one-on-one meeting with the unofficial union, which used to call it Joint Consultative Committee.
Yeah.
We had at Slimline about 180 people elected democratically, and we used to meet, once a month. And it was myself, no HR, no managers, and the people, free for all. They could criticize me, they could say anything, about the organization. We'd sit down, plan it, what I can do, what I can't do, and how we are going to go forward. One of my greatest achievements in life, I would say, I didn't have a single industrial unrest of these 100,000 people over 27 years. Whether here and subsequently overseas in Indonesia, Bangladesh, Kenya, Ethiopia, nobody walks out. Nobody gets up from their seat because I was their leader. Of course, my cap, in my younger days, I want to cover it because I was going bald and I got caned for having long hair at Royal College to save my hair. The man started becoming bald. So I was wearing the cap. And then it later on became very fashionable, and today it's a kind of brand. All over boxing world, they know me, the man with the cap. They might forget my name. All 200 countries, the presidents of boxing will know me.
Yeah.
Oh, that Sri Lankan man with the cap. So that helped me in my initial years managing large workforces.
Yeah.
Because anyway, Shea was my hero and I was very left-centric. People said, Dan is not a communist, but he's a leftist socialist living a capitalist lifestyle. One of my colleagues, Shami Ratnatha, tells that. And I said, you are right. I live a capitalist lifestyle, but of course, my heart is very socialist. I believe in people. I believe in meritocracy. I believe in equality and women's empowerment. And I believe very strong about it. So, I managed to make a lot of changes. My biggest contribution to apparel industry is not all these numbers and branding and all these winning awards, not that. making a difference at the grassroots level of changing this Juki Keller concept. All MS holdings, first starting with Slimline, they were Slimliners, team members. We all wore the same t shirt. We all sat in the same canteen, ate the same food. I started doing walking the talk. And today, the people remember me for that. Changing the culture of degrading women in these free trade zones. Saying, Ara Badua, Ara Juki Kella. I want to erase it. I said, that's family. And that is why I didn't have a single unrest in my career. Because they believed that I will mete out proper justice, meritocracy, empowerment, and social justice. People thought I'll get into politics, which I'll never do. My wife will kick me out if I get into politics, although I've been asked by many a number of parties from left to the right wing. So I think it was a great career in my
Absolutely.
formative time, enjoying Pannala, enjoying my life's philosophy. I stopped going for cocktail parties. Anyway, I don't drink. And I started teaching. I started teaching at different levels, then supporting sports. And I think that foundation up to 30, 35 years made me very strong.
Yeah. Management rhetoric, we have a lot of it today. There's always a book about it. There's so many theories about it. At the end of the day, some of the simple things of a good conversation, of a good couple of minutes spent one-to-one, like you said, is absent. And the most expensive things in the world are simple things, they say. You said 60% of your time. Today, when I take the time with some of the more senior people I work with, they say with their meetings, they dread the one-on-one, which is once a year. How does that work in this difficult time? Whether it's the country or the world, we're all going through difficult times.
I think it all depends on the personality. I love people. I never used to entertain people much in office, in my room. It was open door policy, but, people could walk in anytime.
Yeah.
They used to tell, there was a couch like this outside my room, and they say, oh, that's Dr. Gomez's clinic, and people used to come and tell all kinds of problems. If I went and told those issues to my wife, most probably she would have divorced me. Oh, Mahesh Amalin would have fired me. Very difficult questions, personal stuff, everything. But I was very critical, and I thought, seeing all the tough times that I had, that I could make a difference in their lives. Maybe a simple word. I was not an easy guy to work. My biggest downside was I had a volatile behavior. Like I could put on boxing gloves anytime. It could spark off just like that. From boardroom to walking in the factory and management meetings, right? Sometimes people used to dread. But I used to get away with blue murder because of my one-on-one interaction with them. It was like father beating you up. They were much younger, they would do things, and they would, I would go crazy. But the love between the individuals, never at the workforce level, but at the senior management level. So my daughters tell me, my younger daughter runs a $1 billion operation. And she tells, Dad, the kind of your style wouldn't work today. You would have been kind of hit back very strongly. I said, no, it was open dialogue. And I can remember Hari Soma, once comes and I was a tough meeting. Knock, knock, knock. And says, Dian, I want you to come out. So I came out. He said, come to the boardroom. The first time we are playing the Mercantile Sevens in women's rugby. And I want you to hand over the jerseys. Now, I am under so much of pressure, with the joint ventures and a critical meeting. And he calls me out to dole out the rugby jerseys to the women's team. So I walk and muttering and I said to Haris, this is not the fucking bread bee, right? He turned back and said, fuck you, Dian. This is the bread bee for them. You give me the jerseys. Like a dog, I handed over the jerseys and wished them. And we won the Mercantile 7 beat in John Keys. And the girls who had never played rugby in their life before, village girls. So,
Yeah.
and, and once time again, I had to go at Harry's because all the pictures in the room were all cockeyed. So I screamed at Harry's. Harry's looks at me and said, why the hell are you screaming at me? Right, there are about 10 guys in this department. They also should have seen these pictures being cockeyed. I asked him 3 questions. I said, how many people become a Trinity Lion? He said, very few. Trinity Lion in rugby? Very few. How many people get to captain Sri Lanka at the age of 18? I said, I'm the only one. I said, then Harris, you have led the country's rugby team at the Commonwealth Games and you tackled John Alomu. You bloody well get that fucking thing right. I don't think that language should have been appropriate in today's society. But he said, you're right. So that was the kind of relationship with my people, right? If they're going through a divorce, if they're going through a medical crisis, they're going through any issue, I am with them. That made a formidable culture in a place called Slimline at Parnala. And today I can stand back and see how it has grown. 100,000 of people, and it's the same thing all over the world. Humanity. Talk to them first. Talk from their heart. No bullshit. Because if you lie once, that's the end of your story. That's the end of your leadership. You become a politician.
Yeah.
Make sure you walk the talk. If you can't do, can't do. Sorry. You think I've got to give you this. No. People understand. Because most of the people have got A levels, right? I said, I'm a paid employee. My salary is maybe 10 or 20 times bigger than yours. We make the profit. We have been taken care of. End of story. You work hard. You will get because of you, I'll get a bigger bonus. But that doesn't mean we look up and wait. And there are no free lunches. We all work together. We are bloody one team. When we go together, we go together. No dead bodies left behind. Bring them home. That kind of a culture that we built. And that is where sports came in. Because sports make you resilient. I had 143 athletes in 23 sports. National athletes. Sri Lankan, 7 of the cricket team, 7 of the rugby team, 80% of the Sri Lankan boxing team, the water polo team, part of the badminton team, you name it.
Yeah.
We all had them. And people ask, are you all doing sports or are you all making bras and panties? People want quantification. The shareholders want quantification. But that was what we built MAs for, the branding in a tough areas.
Yeah. What would your mantra for happiness be? Is there such a thing?
Mantra for happiness for me and mantra for happiness for you is very different, Nirosha.
Yeah.
Because I have achieved a lot of things in life. I mean, I went to a good school. You might disagree with me if I say the best school.
I would think you have.
It's a great school.
Yeah.
And I was the president of SEMA 22 years ago. So I achieved to the highest level of my professional career. I went to best business schools on scholarship, Harvard, Wharton, and Ashridge. I was very well trained. I built a formidable company along with Mahesh, Sharad, and Ajay and my colleagues. I became the chairman of Hela Clothing, served on many boards, including the cricket board and founded some of the other sports like fencing in Sri Lanka. I was nationally given the title Lanka Sikamani, the third highest title for public service. Served in the apex body of the civil service for 2 years, Public Service Commission. A colorful career, but more than anything, what I really loved was being the cornerman for Sri Lanka boxing. I risked my career, I risked my family. They used to hate every holiday, every time a Sri Lankan boxed. I packed my bags, bought my own ticket, booked my accommodation, nothing from the government, nothing from the federation. Maybe 4 or 5 Commonwealth Games, 4 or 5 Asian Games, 5 World Championships, 1 Olympic Games, thousands of fights over a period of 20 years as the cornerman for Sri Lanka to win a medal. Gave me joy. I think that's the legacy I would leave behind, not this corporate glory, which I won every award. See my icon, see my business leader, the best corporate citizen, you name it. Every award, I led the teams to win it. For me, it's nothing. When people come to my funeral, they'll remember one thing, that I was their cornerman in their life. At the grassroots level, at any level, and especially at the boxing level. And I'm the only Sri Lankan to serve a 200 nation International Boxing Association as a director, 5 women and 5 men. One is the Deputy Prime Minister of Thailand, one is the Sports Minister of China. And with this kind of people to serve on a world body and to represent my country at that level, where boxing is insignificant. So I am contented. For me, today's happiness, in my younger days, I want to be a corporate hero. Midway, I want to be happy with money, and creature comforts. Today, I've given everything, my private businesses to my daughters. I own one house, our ancestral house at Gomes Park. I don't own anything, 0 loans. I'm a free man, and I've served from every board. I've resigned. I'm only the Consul General. I serve the country with IBA. And, simple happiness. I want to plant trees, which I do. If you look at my house, you don't see a single house in my neighborhood. I plant trees on the road, and I've taken a small estate near Singaraja. I'm growing a forest there. And I travel the world. I've done about 95 countries, and I want to make it 100 before I die. And simple joys, 40 years of marriage, tough wife, admirable wife who took the mother's role, the father's role, and the wife's role all together in one go, because I was gallivanting all over the world. So the happiness is now little things. Good health, maybe teach and make a meaningful difference to people. So I go and teach. I mentor people. I do only things which gives me joy. A very selfish way of looking at life. Only things which gives me joy. What? Help in boxing to win a medal again at the Commonwealth Games. To teach Sri Lankans to become entrepreneurs and to become independent. And have fun. Life is too short.
Absolutely.
I'm 66 years, but I think I'm going 40, right? 66 going 40, but the body doesn't have the same boxing fitness. So what do? Teach people. Make a meaningful life. That's what I want. I don't want to make money, look at cash flows. Forget it.
Sure. Probably the last question would be, the many leaders and CEOs that are out there with working hard, developing teams. I know you covered a lot of areas of what you did. What advice would you give them in this difficult time to manage their people and organizations?
It's talk to them. Sri Lankans are very resilient. I mean, just one example. When I took over boxing in the year 2000, no boxer after 1968, when the qualification came, had qualified for Olympics. At that time, I didn't know the qualification rules of Olympics. 200 countries take part. It's not like playing cricket. 200 countries, like football, one of the major games. For 60 countries, it is their number one sport. Then, 1 year before the Olympic Games, at the World Championships, 8 people will get selected in every weight, and 135 countries minimum will fight for those 8 places. Then Asia, every continent will be given another 4 places. 45 countries will fight for those 4 places. The best boxing countries other than Russia, Cuba, US, England are all in Asia, starting from North Korea, South Korea, China, Thailand to Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, who's number one now. I've realized a strategic plan, 3 weights, 8 years, with right coaching, right technology, right funding, we could do it.
Okay.
I knew Sri Lanka could do it. If we could win the World Cup, we could win a Commonwealth Games medal and a gold medal at the Olympic Games. For the 8 years, I went 27 times to -40 Uzbekistan for the trials, to hot Tunisia, Australia, US, Paris, all over the world, packed my bags, 2 boxers, 1 coach and myself, in pursuit of this dream. And we got somebody for the Olympics. He was number 5 in the world, Anuruddha. But we lost. I was crucified. I was bothered? No. Because if we could finish a 30-year war, if we could face a tsunami, if we could face all these problems, we are resilient. And I believe if you have a strategy, if you have a vision, if you have got the passion, and if you talk to the people, we can do it. For 20 years, we are not being funded by the government, not by the National Olympic Committee, private sponsorship by the people of this country to take this boxing medal. 20 years. I want to thank my sponsors like Ashram Oma, who was my competitor, MAS Holdings, some of the countries, the people of those companies who prayed for the medal. That shows every chief executive in this country is competent enough to run his organization, whether they run banks, whether they run the smallest company, they are capable. But create a structure of openness and meritocracy, and the problem is politics. From the top to the bottom. If we are nation-minded, if we can drive these organizations, it's a simple thing. Faith and hope. And I work still at it, because if we don't do it, if I don't motivate the people, if I don't talk to you and give that message, my daughters and your kids will have a dog's chance living here. They'll be all somewhere else, working for the best American and the British and the Australian companies, and they won't come back. How many people come back?
Yeah.
So we need to wake up. We need to put this corruption out. And we need to think positively to do it. We are not living in a perfect world, but give our best shot. That's my advice to the young chief executives. And I know the people that I developed, people like Suren Fernando, people like Rajiv Dharmendra, very well educated. And they have done a better job than me. Suren runs a $3 billion company now.
Yeah.
So given the right exposure, they've all gone to Harvard. They've been sent on the best training programs, given the skills, given the tools, and they are going to do it. And there are thousands of Suren Fernandos, thousands of Rajiv Dharmendras, Nathan Sivakaranandans, Zian Zaid is all my team. Different backgrounds, different nationalities, different religions. But when they are working together, it's all one team.
Yeah.
So we can do it. I have absolute confidence.
Absolutely. So from one Thomian boxer to a wonderful royal boxer, it has been an absolute pleasure. Your work and life would inspire many through this video. And I thank you very, very much for having us and hosting us. Thank you.
Thank you, Niroshan. It was a pleasure talking to you at home. Great. Thank you.